everybody! Today, let's hook this little hedgehog together. A very cute little doll. A little doll very suitable for beginners to hook. What about the thorn in the back? Everyone can match the colors freely. Choose any color you like. I used a brown one, and one like this, one blue. All right, next, let's hook this little hedgehog together. So first, we're going to hook the body parts. We start the stitches and wrap the thread round the finger. Take it down. Lay the yarn with your left hand. Pinch the intersection. Crochet in. Pull it around the yarn. Hook the yarn with crochet. Pull this loop. This is a chain stitch. Next, we hook a single crochet in the loop. The first round hooks a total of 6 single crochets. Thread the crochet in. The crochet presses the thread and pulls it over, then through the 2 loops. This is a single crochet. Mark the first single crochet. Let's take a look. The single crochet is a V-shaped shape like this. Next, take the second stitch. Thread the crochet in, press the yarn, and pull it over through 2 loops together. The second stitch is done. Next, the third stitch. Then the fourth stitch. The first round is a total of 6 single crochets. What about single crochets? We use the letter X for them. The first round is 6x. Let's take a look. 6 single crochets are hooked. Tighten the yarn. We used a stitching method of a spiral hook. So after each round is hooked, no pull connection required. We went straight to the second round. The second round needs to hook 6 increases. Take the marker off. We're threading the crochet through the marked stitches. The increase, 2 single crochets in each stitch, denoted by the letter symbol V. Let's take a look. Just cross these 2 lines horizontally. Hook the end of the line horizontally on it. Hook the first single crochet. Mark it. What's next? Still in this stitch. Then hook a single crochet. These 2 single crochets come from the same stitch. This is an increase, denoted by the letter V. Then in the second stitch, hook 2 single crochets. Okay, the second increase is done. According to this method, hook the remaining 4 increases. After the second round is hooked, there are 12 single crochets. So let's take a look. The second round is hooked, and then hooked the third round. What about the third round? 1 single crochet and 1 increase. Repeat the hook 6 times. Well, first we threaded the crochet through the first stitch. Hook a separate single crochet. Mark it. Then into the second stitch. Hook 1 increased. That's 2 stitches on the hook. 1 single crochet and 1 increase. It's a combination, a total of 6 times. So here we go a second time. Hook a single crochet in the third stitch. Then hook an increase inside the fourth stitch. Hook a V. It was done the second time. Hook all the remaining 4 times in this way. So after the third round is hooked, it will change to 18 single crochets. We learned to see the diagram when hooked. That's the crochet diagram at the top of the screen. We can see the diagram later. Hook a small part alone. Last group, a single crochet. 1 increase. Okay, round 3 is done, and we went on for the 4th round. 2 single crochets and 1 increase. Repeat the hook 6 times. Let's hook. First hook to single crochets. A stitch is hooked inside the first stitch. Mark it well. A stitch is hooked inside the second stitch. Then hook and increase in the third stitch. Okay, 2 single crochets and 1 increase. It's a combination. You need to hook this whole round 6 times. Let's hook a second time. First hook to single crochets. Then an increase. It was done the second time. We repeat the hook for more times. Just hook this 4th round well. What about after the 4th round is hooked? It will change to 20 for single crochets. Let's take a look. Our 4th round is officially completed. Now we go on for the 5th round. 3 single crochets and 1 increase. Repeat the hook 6 times. There is a stitch hooked inside the first stitch. Mark it well. Then a stitch is hooked inside the second stitch. A single crochet inside the third stitch. Then hook and increase inside the 4th stitch. Okay, it was done the first time. 3 single crochets and 1 increase. Now let's go ahead and hook the second time. 3 single crochets occupy 3 stitches. Then an increase. It was done the second time. Follow this method. Hook all the last 4 times. So after we hook this round 5, and then we looked at the diagrams. Hook all the following rounds 6 to 20. We followed the diagram. At the round 20, there are now 48 single crochets in total. Next we hook round 21. We need to reduce the stitches. We mainly look at how to hook the decrease. 6 single crochets and 1 decrease. Repeat the hook 6 times in this round. Let's hook. First hook 6 separate single crochets. Occupies 6 stitches. Mark the first stitch. Second stitch. Third stitch. Fourth stitch. Fifth stitch. Stitch 6. Next we hook a decrease. Decrease is to reduce 2 stitches in 1 stitch. First we threw the front loop of the 7th single crochet. This single loop. Through the front loop of the 8th stitch again. Then the crochet hooks the thread. Go through the front 2 loops. Then through the last 2 loops. This is a decrease. 6 single crochets and 1 decrease. It's a combination. Then the second time. Hook 6 single crochets first. Then a decrease. Let's take a look. Pick up a stitch of the front loop. Then pick up a front loop of next stitches. Crochet the yarn and pull it over. Then parallel the stitches. This is the decrease. We denote it by the letter A. Just hook it like this. We now hook the third group. Okay, let's look at the decrease again. Through the front loop of stitches. Through the front loop of next stitch again. Crochet the thread and pull it over. Then parallel the stitches. How about this method? Just hook this 21st round. After round 21, let's look at the diagram again. Hook all the following rounds 22 to 26. Everybody follow the diagram to hook. We've been following diagrams. Hook the 26th round, then put PP cotton in it and fill it up. We continue to hook the last round, round 27. What about round 27? We hook 6 decreases in a row. Let's hook the first decrease. Mark it well. Then the second one. The third one. Fourth one. Then the fifth one. Sixth decrease. Okay, it's hooked on round 27. Extend the yarn. Leave a long yarn. We use needles and fix the little hole up there. So what about after we hook the 27th round? Only 6 stitches left. So we threw the front loop of each stitch. Just pick it up. Each stitch's front loop. Then tighten. There are no more holes in this place. Then cut the thread directly. Let's take a look. The head of our little hedgehog is complete. Next we hook the ear part. It's also a way to ease it. Let's take a look. Wrap the thread around your finger. Take it down. Lay the yarn with your left hand. Pinch the intersection. Crochet in. Hook the yarn and pull it over. Hook a chain stitch first. Next, we hook 3 more chain stitches. What about after the hook is done? Then, in the ring, hook 6 double crochets at the same time. We look at the hook method of the double crochet. Crochet around the thread. Thread the crochet in. Pull the yarn out. Pull to the same height as the 3 chain stitches. At this time, there are 3 loops on the crochet. Pull the yarn and through the front 2 loops first. Then crochet winding yarn. Pin the front 2 loops together first. Then parallel these 2 loops. The first double crochet is hooked. Next, hook the second double crochet. The crochet wraps the yarn again. Thread the crochet in. Hook the yarn and pull it over. Parallel stitching. And then we parallel them. The second stitch is hooked. And then the third double crochet. Fourth stitch. Double crochets are denoted by the letter F, the 5th stitch. Then the 6th stitch. After 6 double crochets are hooked. Next, hook 3 more chain stitches. Then connect the stitch on the ring and thread it in. Crochet the thread and pull it over through the back loop. Hook the yarn and pull it over. Our ear is done. Leave a long tail. Cut directly. Pull this little thread tail really tight. Let's take a look. The shape of our little ears comes out. According to this method, just hook a total of 2 such ears. Next, we hook the part of this bow. It's also a way to repay. Take a look at wrapping the thread around your finger. Crochet in. Hook the yarn and pull it over. Hook a chain stitch first. This stitch is for fixing. Next, we hook 5 more chain stitches. Let's hook. Okay, hook these 5 chain stitches. So then in the ring, hook for triple crochets. And then you thread the crochet in the ring. Crochet the thread and pull it over. Then first parallel the first 2 loops. And then the loops are parallel. Then perform the third parallel stitch. This is how to hook a triple crochet. We hooked out 3 more stitches. Second crochet winding twice. Then thread the crochet in and pull the thread. The first time, the second time. The third time, then hooked with 2 more stitches. Good hook fourth stitch. After the hook is done. And then finally, we hooked 5 more chain stitches. And then hooked a slip stitch. Connect the threading stitches. Hook the line. Just bring it to the back loop. Then half of our bow is done. Next, we repeat the hook for the other half. First hook 5 chain stitches. Then for triple crochets. First triple crochet. Second triple crochet. Third triple crochet. Fourth triple crochet. Okay, after hooking these 4 stitches, hook 5 chain stitches. Connected from the top of the ring, hook a slip stitch. That's it. Tighten the end of the thread. This is what our bow looks like. What's next? We are on top of this 5 chain stitches. Correspondingly, hook out 5 slip stitches. Thread the stitches in. Hook the wire and pull it over to the back loop. Then the second slip stitch. Third slip stitch. Fourth slip stitch. Fifth slip stitch. We have for triple crochets in the middle, in these stitches. Then hook the 4 slip stitches. Okay, what about after the hook is done? We're on top of these 5 chain stitches on this side. Then hook out the 5 slip stitches accordingly. Okay, that's it. Hook this half like this. Hook a round of slip stitches. Okay, put the 4 double crochets in the middle on it, corresponding to 4 slip stitches. Then hook this side with 5 slip stitches. That's it. Hook the yarn and pull it over. Leave a long yarn. Can we put the thread in the middle? Wrap it like this a few times. What about later? Just fix it on this main body. Our bow is done. What's next? Let's hook this little hedgehog, the thorn, in the back. So we started with the stitches. It is also the way to magic ring. We first hooked 6 single crochets in the first round. Take it off in 1 round. Put the thread with your left hand and crochet it in. Hook the yarn and pull it over. Hook a chain stitch to fix it first. Next, We hook 6 single crochets. Mark the first stitch. Second stitch. Third stitch. Fourth stitch. Fifth stitch. Sixth stitch. After the hook is done, pull this thread tail tightly. The first round is done. What's next? From the second round, we need to hook this shredded radish stitch. We need to take advantage of this tool. We need to find a piece of paper. I found a random piece of label paper. Just our ordinary label. Then fold it in half. Shredded radish grows about this long. Fold it in half. Fold it in half like this. It will be more convenient. Let's take a look at how to use it. It's time for the second round. In the second round, you need to hook 6 increases. Thread the stitch into the first stitch first. And what do? You put it right there. Hook the line like this. And then what about the stitches? The first single crochet is hooked. Mark it well. Each stitch is like this, pulling a thread for him like this, and then still in this stitch. Keep hooking single crochets. Then wind the yarn like this again. Hook the yarn. Pull over. Okay, the first increase is done. At the same time, the top corresponds to 2 such loops. This is the hook method of our shredded radish stitch. On the paper, just wrap it around like this. In this way, it's the same length. The thorns of our little hedgehog are the same length. Then thread the stitch into the second stitch. Wrap once. Hook the yarn. Pull over. Split stitch or hook single crochet. What about each stitch? Just wrap it around him like this. Okay, the second increase is done. The above corresponds to 4 loops. Then follow this method to hook. Don't forget to wind the yarn like this. The third one increases. Take another increase. Okay, let's move on to the back part. Fourth increase. This method is relatively simple. Then the fifth one. Then the sixth increase. Okay, we're done with the second round. The above corresponds to 12 loops. Okay, what about after the hook is done? We take the paper off. The second round is done. So we go in for the third round. 1 single crochet and 1 increase. Repeat hook 6 times. Let's hook. Or put this label in this place like this. A stitch is hooked inside the first stitch. Mark it well. Then hook an increase in the second stitch. What about when you hook this backstab? Don't worry. This place needs to be patient. Okay, let's go this way. Just keep hooking it. Follow the diagram to hook. Just hook it into a shredded radish stitch like this. When each stitch is hooked, just wind it like this once. So just hook the diagram. Okay, we've been following the diagram to round 14. After the hook is done, extend the yarn. It has a long tail, later for suturing. We use needles. Connect this last place. Skip the first stitch. Thread the stitch from the position of the second stitch. Then on the last single crochet, pick the back half of the stitches in this place, along with this little loop below, coming through like this. This place is connected. Let's take a look. This backstab of our little hedgehog is completed. What's next? Let's backstab this one again. Put it over this body. Tidy it up for him like this. What about after the setting is done? Let's use the yarn again. Just fix it on top of this body. You just followed this backstab. Just sew it directly on this body. Let's take a look. We backstabbed this. Just sew it on this body for him. Sewing like this. Our body part is done. So we're going to move on to the diagrams. Hook this four-legged one up. Let's take a look. This is what our four legs look like after hooking. The stitch for the legs and body are the same, also starting from the magic ring. We started with 8 single crochets, then hook until the 6th round. Leave a long tail. The nose is also starting the magic ring. And I've typed the two-part diagram up on the screen. After each part is hooked, so what we're going to do is put the ears on top of the body. Just sew it with this thread we reserved. Sew it up like this. Sewed on the 4th row of this body. That's it. Sewing in this position. Let's take a look at the suturing process. What about after the ears are sewn? Next, we sew the nose part. And the nose, we sew it underneath the ears. 2 to 3 rows is enough. Sew to the end. We left a small opening. Then put PP cotton in it. Finally, just sew it all up. Let's take a look at the suturing process. What about after the nose is sewn? We put a little black buckle on it as part of its nose. You put it on top of the nose there. Just install it for him. So then, we're going to outline it in black. The bottom part is equivalent to the mouth part. It's very simple. Let's take a look. Let's outline it with a black line. Thread the stitches through. And then pulling down. Thread the stitches in the middle and go out. That's it. It's very simple. Cut the long part directly. What's next? Here we are 1 or 2 rows up the nose. Install this eye. What about the 2 eyes? Keep them symmetrical. Let's take a look. That's it. What's next? Let's sew the front legs of this little hedgehog. Let's take a look at his suture position. A little bit down the nose here. That's it. The front legs are symmetrical, sew it like this. No need to put PP cotton in. Just sew it up. Let's take a look at the suturing process. What about after sewing the one on the left? and then sew up the symmetrical one on the right. What's next? What about the bottom two legs? So it's symmetrically like this. Let's take a look. It's sewn at the bottom. The legs can be sewn side by side like this. Just sew it like this. Everyone follow me. Let's sew up all four legs first. We put this on top of these two legs. And what about the lower two legs? It's all sewn up. After sewing, it looks like this. It's a very simple little doll. Then we can also go under this nose, sewing on a bow. This place can be sewn or not. Do you like this one with a bow? You sew one on. If you don't like it, don't sew it. It's a little hedgehog we sewed the bow on. Let's take a look at sewing or not sewing. They ray all very nice. That's it. Okay. This is the end of our tutorial today. Thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial.